Now this area down here is where, where I dug that pool out, that water hole. Okay, we got like 2 inches of rain yesterday, or night before last, into yesterday morning. So the pool filled completely up and run through the culvert and went tearing down this stream bottom here. Because this is kind of where the spring starts coming out of the ground. And as it goes down the hill, it gradually, more and more water adds into it. But I thought I'd come down here to look and see what I got for trees. Because there is a big oak here that I'm going to take out of here for building. But this is a kind of an awkward spot to get in. But there is, right here, a big popple that's stone dead. So I can take him out of there and drop that oak into that spot. And then I can get in here, on the top of the hill. And with a fairly long chain, I think I can snag that oak out of here. But it should be a little tricky. But this is the only time I can do it. It's nice if the ground is frozen, but if we got snow, I can't get enough traction to pull something like that up that hill. Because that's a pretty darn tall tree. There's going to be about 30 feet of good straight log there. So that's going to be a challenge. But walking around here I run into a tripod. I've got multiple tripods. Haven't seen this one for a while. I evidently lost it in the snow around here once last winter. But it's back. And it's always good to have an option, because the one I'm using here is the one I usually carry in the M37, but this one easily compacts, so I can carry it around with me. It fits in a backpack or anything. That one is a little fussier. But, it was working, digging a hole in, and I stopped for dinner, but I happened to look at the news feed. And here, it's Washington, I think, where they're protesting because they were threatening to cut down mail service, is the theory. But really not true. Yeah, good to have that. They've been cutting down mail service for forever. All they're doing now is they're pulling some mailboxes out of places where they weren't being used, which is not uncommon. Particularly in a situation, because people really don't, how much do you mail? People don't mail a lot of stuff. If you got a package, you got to go to the post office anyway. I mail maybe 2 letters a month. That's it. And the only thing I get in the mail is very, very little. I don't actually even get much junk mail because I'm not involved with stuff that sends junk mail. But, yeah, it's nice to have mail come, but, it comes to mailbox, they ain't cutting down mail delivery, though they have threatened to do that in the past. But like shortening hours in the post office, God, it was like 10 years ago they cut ours down to half days. All the local communities around here, the postmaster is there in the morning to help sort the mail. By noon they're out of there. So if you got something to mail, you got to go down there in the morning. And not too early because they're still sorting mail. But that's not something new. That's been going on for a long time because the post office has been losing money for a long time. The only thing that really keeps them going is that trash, third-class crap, But even that, everybody does stuff online, so there isn't a lot of that even anymore. You'll get all your flyers and stuff will turn up in your email. The post office serves a purpose, but not like it used to. I mean, it used to be post office like the hub of the community, but it really isn't that way anymore. Anyway, people are all wound up, or getting all wound up, let's say, because of this shutting down these mail drop-off boxes, which I can certainly understand. You know, it's like same with telephone booths. When is the last time you seen a payphone? If you were looking for one, you would really have to search. You know, they just become a thing that isn't really needed. And now, particularly in an area like they were pulling some out of Portland, okay? Do you really want to mail something in a mailbox anywhere near where there's protests or where they're burning everything in sight? You're going to throw something that you expect to get through the mail in that mailbox? You bring it to the post office and you mail it there. You don't mail it in the box like that. You know, it's just stupid. You're just taking a big chance. It reminds me back, my mom told me about this one time, years and years ago, when she was a little kid. Her dad went to the post office and mailed in an order to Sears and Roebuck. Dropped it in the box outside the door. You know, on the wall it was, I think. And he waited, and after a week and nothing had come from Sears, and at that time stuff came quick. You know, you could order something, it was here in no time at all. Didn't show up, so he goes in and asks the postmaster. Well, they go out and check, it's still in the box. Nobody mailed stuff in that outside box. Nobody had checked that outside box for a long time because it really wasn't serving any purpose. People would go in the post office. Like here, even in the morning, you go in there, there's people hanging around drinking coffee. You know, there isn't really, you know, they come up to get the mail out of their boxes, drink some coffee, yak, get the latest gossip, and then they're gone. You know, but it isn't like people are normally mailing stuff, like even in a rural mailbox like this. You're not supposed to mail cash because it's not considered safe. Well, I have done this many times. I always figure, you know, anything under 100, I'll take a chance on it. And I've never been stuck with that. But they tell you not to do this, you know, for good reason, because things do go astray. You know, often I'll get mail for somebody else. It'll turn up in my box. When they sort it, they got it in the wrong pile, and all of a sudden I get mail for the neighbor, and I got to bring it over there. Or just put up the flag, and the mailman picks it up the next day, and he fixes his mistake. But to be making a big squawk about this, you know, to do with the postmaster general, trying to make something profitable again, and the only reason they're kicking up a fuss about this because people really mail, you know, like I say, nobody writes letters anymore. It's just so rare. Even packages coming, everybody's getting Amazon. You know, I heard, you know, this has now got to do with this mail-in voting is what I'm getting at. But I heard somebody say, oh, why don't we just have Amazon do it? Holy smokes. You know, the mail is somewhat secure. But the ballot system, that's a chancy deal. Now people want to say, oh, there won't be any fraud involved in this, but there will be. There already has been. They don't like to talk about it, but there's shenanigans and this stuff going on all the time. But like I say, they keep it quiet. You really have to look to find it, but it's there. You know, even in the last election, there was a heck of a lot going on, but already in this one, there's been cases of all these extra ballots turning up. Now, mail-in voting, like what people want to do, is a whole other thing from the absentee voting. You know, that's been going on for a long time, but then to get the ballot, you have to prove who you are. Now, this mail-in voting, they just want to throw all these ballots out there, and they're all going to come in. It's just going to be a mess. You know, it's unbelievable that people would actually consider this as a workable option. You know, they don't want to go to the polls to vote, but they will go to the Postmaster General's house and protest. The sense of this eludes me. But people have lost all common sense here. Yeah, I'd like to see the post office. Actually, mail-in voting would be fine if you could make it secure, but very hard to do that. Like they managed to do this with income tax, or they used to manage to do it, but they don't even do that anymore. It's supposed to all be done online. For good reason. It's a matter of security. But this just mailing in ballots coming. I mean, because even in the last general election like that, when they had, like I said, they don't like talking about it, but there was a heck of a lot of dead people voting. People dead 100 years were voting. Now, there's a shenanigan involved in that. You can't deny that. And then people thinking, oh, like they aren't going to get the mail in time. If they mail it in, and it won't get there, and their vote won't be counted. Well, in the first place, it really doesn't matter a hell of a lot, because it's all up to the Electoral College anyway. It'd be a nice thought if it was the popular vote, but then it would be even more rigged than it is now. You grow up thinking one man, one vote, this counts, but it's a lot of crap. But anyway, so they have a big protest because they're taking down a few mailboxes. It's funny. But there will be, I think part of the problem here, this could have been alleviated if you could have kept those damn politicians in session. But no, time to go on recess. And by God, I never seen an outfit that takes more recesses. In the worst possible time, they just say, well, let's go home for a while. When you got something that needs to be done, you got to work on it. You can't just walk away from this stuff. But yet they do it continually. It's like this is their tactic. And just leave people hanging. Because now they won't be back till after Labor Day. They got things to do. Well, that's nice. Like people don't have things to do. You're still fighting with this whole, is school going to open or not? And I still think that's going to be a boondoggle. Well, I know it is, but these are things they should be working on. But yep, no, they got to go home. Very bad employees we got working for us. Really, really horrible. It's amazing all the time when I look at this and I see what they're up to. It's surprising, but and it's not like this is something new. I mean, this has always been that way, and you got all these people who have been in there forever, have no inclination to change. They like to go there. Like if you ever watch these hearings when they're having them, it's just a matter of speech making. That's all they're doing. They're not really discussing anything. Like somebody suggested, even when this stuff was going on, when they're debating this stuff, okay, let the people be able to see it. Nope, that's done behind closed doors. You can't be involved in that. They want to tell you what happened later, give you their version of events, and then go home. Like I said, I'm not particularly fond of Trump, but I find his governing acceptable compared to what it could be, what what they would like it to be, some of these lunatics. Yeah. It is funny to watch, though. like even now, how they'll bend the truth on stuff. Because even, well, I watched a little bit on CNN with this Anderson Cooper, which, it's funny. You could watch, even not knowing these people, you could watch something, or even just read a transcript of this, and you could tell exactly which channel it is, because they have an agenda there, a storyline that they're going to follow, and they will bend the truth to get to this storyline. It was to do with this birther idea again, where they said this Kamala Harris, that somebody had brought up, which is something that should be brought up. You don't dwell on this, you bring it up and you settle it. Is she a citizen? Is she able to actually run for this job? Bring it up, settle it, and be done with it. You don't make this big production of this stuff, but yeah, they made a big production of it. And the problem is, see, Trump never brought it up. It was I think it was from Newsweek, somebody asked him if he had seen this. And he said, yeah, he'd seen it, but he didn't, he didn't know anything about it. But, oh boy, then he's fanning the flames. Well, he wasn't fanning any flames, But yeah, I mean, these are things that should be decided right away, because that's what he said. I imagine she is, because you would think they would have vetted her before this got this far, and he's right. But no, make a big production of that. But like I say, it is something that should have been looked at, and I imagine was looked at. I find it interesting that they love to gloss over some stuff that you accidentally run across, and I kind of wonder what's up there, because she actually grew up in Canada, and I don't know what her citizenship status was in Canada. I don't know how that worked. But normally reading news, you would never have any idea that she was ever out of California. Lived there all her life. But all her high school years are in Canada, so I don't know what went on there. But I don't really care. As long as if she's entitled to be a citizen here, if she's a citizen, she was born here, if she never renounced her citizenship, which is not an easy thing to do, I would think she was, so that's the legal scholars can haggle over this, but it's funny how they do. They'll haggle over a thing like that. But it had nothing to do with Trump. I don't know why in the world they're blaming him for this. The same with this mail crap. I mean, that's a normal post office procedure. That's nothing new. But I do agree that mail-in voting, absentee voting is one thing. This random mail-in voting thing, I don't know how you're going to make that work. They really want to do it, but my God, that's going to be a mess. And maybe that's the idea. Maybe I was thinking about this the other day after I did a speech up on a hill up there. I was trying to figure out what the game is here, how they're, because obviously Biden isn't going to be able to stay in this thing. So they've got some scheme afoot here. There's going to be some shuffling around. But exactly what this is, I don't know. But I think they're trying to keep this confusion and build this crap up all the way up to the election. And then the election's going to be a hell of a mess. They're going to be fighting over vote counting, and it's just going to go everything's going to go all to hell. Because no matter what, I mean, there's no way you can get an accurate count. These things are going to fluctuate, and they're going to be finding boxes of ballots hidden away here and there, which they always do. I don't know. They got all these, you got people working, they volunteer to work in the polls, and the people who volunteer to work in the polls are not the most reliable people, though they are supposed to be, but they cheat all the time. well, I shouldn't say all the time, but every time these big scandals happen, it's some damn poll worker, a volunteer. So I think there's going to be more of that. Because I know there was a case where somebody, this just happened not that long ago, where somebody turned up with a whole pile of mail-in ballots already made out, or the check for which candidate and all this stuff, it was like 300 or 400 of them. But it's that kind of thing that really is worrisome. And it's going to happen on such a grand scale that there's going to be this great amount of confusion. I thought mosquito season was over, but it isn't. And maybe that's what they're banking on. Maybe if they can stir this up enough that this can't be settled. If it's not settled in time, I mean, there's a limit of time you can drag this out. If all hell doesn't break loose and they can't settle it, eventually it'll fall to Pelosi, which is a scary thought, but is that their backup plan? Is that why it caused all this? I don't know. But there's that possibility there. The same, there again, if Biden bails out, Pelosi could end up vice president, or are we going to get Hillary stuck in there yet? There's a long con going on here, but the pieces haven't all kind of fallen together. But there's many ways. It's like a chess match. There's things that could go on here. But it's funny because they've got tons of accomplices because all these news media people. When I see these videos that have been particularly edited, like I have seen the full video, then they go and edit this thing down to make it come out sounding exactly opposite what it was. And this is breaking news. That's really spooky. But people will fall for that. Well, I don't know. Journalism is just dead. There's very little of actual journalism that goes on anymore. I know I was talking to somebody the other day, and they said they just don't know who to trust anymore. Well, you really can't. They're all liars and scoundrels. But I think there's a scheme to this. I think there always is in this kind of situation. But, boy, I think they got a long con going here. But, like I say, we'll see how it plays out. I mean, one way or the other, it really doesn't affect me. The only thing that could possibly affect me is the whole going to take away all the guns deal. But that ain't going to fly. But otherwise, I'm kind of untouchable. And believe me, they aren't getting, I don't have any assault weapons in the first place, but, that wouldn't fly. But it's an interesting thing to watch. But we'll see. It isn't that long. I think actually, I'm thinking they started this thing. They put it off as long as they could, but now they've got this con rolling. But I think they started a little early. Though there are a lot of people that vote early, that are already voting. They're scared, the vote ain't going to count, so they're going to fire that in. Though they didn't even know who the vice presidential candidate was until just the other day. And, the presidential candidate is, really doesn't, he's just a Trojan horse to bring in somebody else. But then there's this next stage. That's what's got me wondering what the plan is after that. If they manage to pull this whole big con off, but it's going to be tough to do. But, the mail-in voting is an important part. If they can do that there, they got a long way there, or at least it'll sow confusion and anxiety and fear, and then they thrive on that. So, I guess that's what it's working on. Man, I got mosquitoes. I haven't run into them. They aren't in the yard, but down here in these trees, I got mosquitoes. But we'll see how it plays out. Always interesting.